Hi everyone, Irfaan Gaffar here, ahead of episode 2 of Down to Earth. I am so excited for you guys to see this episode as it does have Kevin Bieksa. But what I'm even more excited about is to bring on Dr. Bobby Birdie and his team at BC Perio. They're a leader in advanced dental implants, teeth in one day, and periodontal care. Whether you're missing teeth, need a new smile, or need specialized gum treatment, trust the expertise of one of Canada's few dual certified specialists in both periodontics and prosthodontics. Get the confident smile you deserve with cutting-edge care and the newest technology. Visit bcperio.ca to learn more and to book your consultation with Dr. Bobby Birdie today. BC Perio, where expert care meets exceptional results. I think it goes without saying that Kevin Bieksa was an exceptional guest for this episode. Met Kevin way back in 2009 when I was a young reporter. He was already a grizzled veteran. We didn't talk about this story that I do remember from him. It was when he came back as a visitor when he was a member of the Anaheim Ducks. Him walking into the opposite dressing room, going for warm-up on the ice and interviewing him after the first intermission. A very surreal experience, not only for me to see him in different colors that weren't, the Vancouver Canuck uniforms, but I can bet for him as well. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode.
And Bieksa got an immediate right. He gets him right on the chin. He shoots, he scores! Kevin Bieksa!
All right, well, I know this man here next to me needs no introduction, but
I'll take one.
For those that are watching, I'm going to give you one anyway. A Bowling Green State University graduate, 13-year NHL veteran, Hockey Night in Canada analyst, author of the Superman Punch, winner of a Canadian Screen Award for Best Sports Analyst in 2024, Grimsby's own Kevin Bieksa. Welcome to Down to Earth.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Do you know when I graduated from Bowling Green? I went my first year in 2000. Guess which year I graduated?
Probably was a long time after that.
2018.
It took you 18 years?
18 years, and the only reason I did it was because my kids were talking, and my wife's double major, master's, very smart woman, and the kids were saying, Dad, pretty soon when we go to university, you're going to be the dumbest one in the family. So I said, why is that? Like, well, we're going to graduate from university. You haven't graduated, because I was 2 classes short.
Yeah.
So I went back, and I took my last 2 courses online to graduate, just because my kids, and at that point, like, my kids were probably only like 15 and 12, and they were heckling me. So that's why I did it. That's why I graduated. Spite.
Just spite your kids.
Yeah.
So how did you get back into that mindset? We'll get into a lot of things, obviously, here on the show, but how did you get back into that mindset 18 years after you're in school to go back to school, online classes to graduate?
It was tough, but luckily they allowed me to do it online.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was coaching my son's team at the time, and we're at a tournament in Scottsdale, and I had to take my exam in a certain range, but it's Eastern time. I had to take it at Bowling Green. So I'm on Eastern time, and I'm doing my final exam at midnight. I started at midnight, and he was sleeping, and it was like a 3-hour exam. And I remember finishing it and like fist pumping and celebrating, and he's like sleeping right next to me. He's got a big game in the morning. So that's kind of the way it happened. But it's just something where like I had to do it. And as you get older, you actually enjoy learning things. It's kind of funny that way, right? When you're in school, you kind of begrudge it a bit. You're like, oh, school. But, after the fact, I got a lot more out of it.
Yeah. I think one of those things as well, you definitely said like you got more out of it, but going and doing that, I guess your mental headspace of going to do that was, I just need to get this done.
Yeah. Well, you want the finished product for sure. Like you want the degree and you want the completion, the finality of it all. But again, you enjoy the process probably a little bit more because I'm a lot more mature now.
Definitely a lot more mature. We're going to get to your maturity in a little bit, but I want to talk about you transitioning from player into broadcaster. I mean, why were you always so good, and why did it come so naturally for you? I remember my first year at Sportsnet, honestly, scared to talk to you, right? We didn't have those interviews. I'm pretty sure we got me a couple times, I got you a couple times, but why did those things come so naturally to you?
I think just those interactions that I had with you and with Dan Murphy and Shorty over the years made me very comfortable with it. And I didn't think I'd get into media, to be honest with you, afterwards. I thought I'd kind of be more on the coaching side, but the media opportunities were presented to me. I was told when I retired, don't say no to anything. Try everything once, and if you don't like it, you don't have to. When I was still kind of trying to figure out if I was going to continue to play, I had Sportsnet kind of ask me if I'd work the All-Star game. And that was kind of the first thing. It was in San Jose. It was close. I was living in California. And I said, if I'm not playing, I'll do that. So I went there, and that was kind of my, other than doing a couple things with Scott Oak that, you know, I don't want to belittle that, but it was just a couple little hits during a game.
Yeah.
The All-Star game was my first real jump into this, and I was doing a three-way color with Craig Simpson and Jim Hewson, and like two pros, two of the best. And that was kind of the start for me to do that. And then I liked it, and I tried a few more things. I had a really unsuccessful podcast with Ryan Kessler. Not just kidding. It was good. We had about 13 episodes. We had some good players on. And that also warmed me up to the possibility of doing media. But I don't know, it's just something that kind of fell in my lap. I liked it. I ran with it. I loved the flexibility it gave me. I was still able to be around my kids at home during the week, which was important because I've missed so much of their lives from playing. So here I am. I'm going on year 6 now.
You're on Hockey Night every Saturday. Everyone knows who you are. Millions watching, obviously, during the playoffs. The Oilers in the most recent playoffs. You're not afraid to speak your mind. You never have been, in my experience with you, obviously, on the ice and off the ice. But do you ever say anything, or do you kind of feel like you maybe have to be guarding some of the things you say?
For sure. I catch myself sometimes under my breath. And for me, the worst times are not when I'm prepared on a subject. It's when I get hit with like a curveball, or Elliot throws like something at me like a chirp, and my natural reaction is to hit back. And I have to remember, I'm not in a locker room. I'm not at home. I'm not on the golf course. I can't hit back the way I want to hit back. So those are the times where I really have to constrain myself. But, you know, for the most part, I got a great team that works around me, and they give me a lot of flexibility and freedom to say what I want. And I'm a pretty positive guy for hockey, so I don't really like to get down on the negative things. Like, I like to show if a goal happens what the problem was or the breakdown, but I don't really like to pick on guys necessarily, because I remember what that was like as a player. I've done it like one time, and I still hear about it. But no, it's been good. It's a learning process too, and I'm, you know, I've learned a lot from the guys around me, the Ron McLeans and Kelly Rudy's and Elliot Friedmans, who've been doing this for a long time.
Those guys have been doing it for a long time, but you're also so not that far removed from the league. So when you talk to guys, are you getting current guys? Are you having those conversations with current players when talking to them, when either preparing for a broadcast or after, if you said something?
I still feel like I can connect with the players because I played with a lot of these guys, played against a lot of them. So when we're doing the interviews, I feel like I can still kind of speak their language. I don't think they look at me as a media guy. I think they still kind of look at me as like one of those old players, you know, like one of those old crusty players. So I have that going for me, but you know, that's part of it. Like, I have to understand, I'm a hockey player first and foremost. I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to school for this. You know, I still make some mistakes sometimes, what camera to look at and my IFB and all that. I've actually dialed that all in now. But I have to remember that I'm a hockey player. I have to speak from a hockey player's perspective. And when I'm talking to these guys, it's like we're in the dressing room.
You mentioned your family and your kids getting older now, and obviously getting chirped by them is a reason why you went and got your degree. But I think you did an interview in 2011. You scored against the San Jose Sharks. There were very few people that knew that you scored that goal, but Cole was one of them, wasn't he?
Cole knew.
Cole
was, but so 2011, Cole was 4 years old.
Yeah.
But he was at home watching.
Yeah.
With our babysitter, and my daughter would have been really young, like 2. But he says that he knew right away, and it's kind of a cool thing, right? That he was, you know, had that intuition and picked up on it. But the funny thing is, everyone always says, "Oh, like the biggest goal of your career was such like a muffin. It was such a duck, like it barely went in." I'm like, yeah, but I scored every other game in that series too, and those are some nice ones.
There you go. Absolutely.
So that's my rebuttal. That's
100%. You opened the Hockey Academy in California. Obviously, the success of that. You know, Reese is obviously doing her thing, as is Kate. But what's your relationship like with Cole? Now he's obviously growing into a young man and playing hockey and doing things at a high level.
It's great. He's literally my best friend, and we hang out so much. And now he's turning 17. He's driving. Every year we drive from California back to Toronto for the summer because our dog can't really fly, and we don't want to put him underneath. He's kind of pampered. Yeah. So we drive there and back. So you imagine that's a lot of time in the car, 40 hours each way, and we do that, you know, twice a year. And he's great. We talk about everything. I feel like we have a pretty good relationship. I've coached him now for a number of years, and I think, as you guys can imagine, I'm probably not the easiest coach, especially on his son. I'm pretty demanding, and he's great. He takes it, and he wants to be pushed, and just trying to support him in his hockey career wherever that goes. But that was a big, important thing for me when I retired, is make sure that I'm around to be a good father for my kids. And my daughter's just made a competitive dance team, her high school team. So it's the first team she's been on. So it's funny, like I'm trying to give her advice and she still thinks I don't know anything, right? And I don't think she really remembers. She obviously remembers I played in the NHL, but I'm like, Reese, I played on teams, right? Like I know like the dynamics, because she just made a high school dance team. So there's freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And obviously like they're a little bit on the cliquey side, like the freshmen hang out with the freshmen. And I go, Reese, that's the way it is. That's the way it was in college. She goes, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So you try, right?
Well, and because of that, do you find yourself, you mentioned you can imagine what you were like as a player and as a coach. Do you take anything away from anyone that you were coached by? Like, are you torch on the bench to your son, or are you more AV? Or
I'm a little bit of everybody. To be honest, I'm definitely a lot of Rick bonus.
Yeah.
I find myself when I'm explaining a drill and then I raise my voice like this. That's Rick bonus to a T.
Yeah.
The way I try to connect with every player individually and have their trust is Rick bonus. I'm a very Elaine with the way I think I teach structure. I'm very torts with like my pregame speeches and how I try to motivate and inspire the kids. So yeah, you'd be silly not to use all the positive tools that you've got from coaches over the years. There's a lot of coaches that I, not steal stuff from, but you use and you adapt. And I've had some great coaches over the years and some great older players that I've also learned from.
How's Cole take the criticism?
He's good. Like, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to hear that you're not playing good enough or you're not doing something well, but I'm the first guy to pat him on the back when he is. So I tell him, hey, it's fair. You and I'm never going to beat him down, but like when you need to make corrections or you have to be better at something, I'm going to be pretty honest with you, but I'm also going to be super supportive and there to help.
Kevin, you're obviously here back in Vancouver for a reason. This pro camp that's going on right now in support of obviously the TS51 Foundation, but of course Rick Rypien and his legacy and mental health. And more importantly, for you to be here, how much have you grown or how much have you learned and when it comes to mental health and obviously the athletes?
Well, I've learned a lot. We've come a long way, and it all started with relaunching mindcheck.ca, and that kind of evolved into Foundry BC, and now we have the Canadian Men's Health Foundation that I'm trying to support as much as possible. And it's all about just health and mental health in men brings stability to families, to communities. It's such an important thing. We're taught from such a young age, at least my generation is, you're a little bit younger than me, but my generation from a young age was taught as men to be strong and to internalize things and to like push through them. And that's not necessarily the case. If you have like a knee injury or an ankle injury, you're not just going to stay strong and push through it. You're going to go see a doctor. You're going to try to get help. And that's kind of what we're trying to say with mental health. It's the same thing. There's tools out there that can help you, but you have to ask for the help and you have to be willing to accept it. The stigma is being slowly eradicated where it's a weakness. It's not a weakness. It's an illness. It's a sickness. Yeah. You can get help and you can live a happy life. Worst case scenario is a suicide, and that's what we're trying to minimize as much as possible. As sad as it was with Rick, and I still think about it all the time, what could have I done differently? What could have we done? It's something that opened up this whole conversation for me and for a lot of people in BC, and now there's all these great programs that all started from Rick Rypien. So I know he'd be proud about that, and he'd be happy of the progress we've made.
Have you seen a change or a shift when it comes to mental health in the National Hockey League and from when you played to where things are now?
Yeah, there's more of an acceptance from the players when a player is struggling and they have to take a leave of absence or they have to put themselves in the program. There's more of an acceptance now. Before, it used to be probably like a little bit of a snickering, like kind of that guy's not mentally strong enough. That's what you would say, right? He's not mentally strong enough. Well, now we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit more of an acceptance, and there's still a ways to go in society, I think. But there's definitely been a ton of positives in the last 12, 13 years, and programs like Hockey Talks that sheds light on it and educates people. That's a month-long initiative now that most of the teams in the NHL are celebrating. That helps. That helps a lot because there has to be information out there to educate people about it.
Dan Murphy here with a question for Kevin. Who is your all-time favorite Sportsnet personality? And I hope there's some loyalty when you think about this answer. But in all seriousness, are you as proud about the legacy you left with your work in mental health awareness as you are about the legacy you left with your work on the ice, especially in Vancouver? Because I know a lot of people appreciate it. Cheers, buddy.
Is that where Murph lives? That's a nice view.
No,
The
trust
background.
me. So it's 3 takes Murph, but we got it done.
I enjoyed my time with everybody in Vancouver.
Yeah.
As far as the first part of the question, that whole team was Shorty and Cheech and Murph for years, and then you came in. What an amazing team. And now Dave Tomlinson and Ray Ferraro. I always kind of say that that's the number one regional show for sure, and they deserve more national attention. So that's the first part of that. The second part is, super, super proud of the legacy. It goes hand in hand. Like, I'm proud of the hockey, and I'm proud of the culture that we had, I think, for the 10 years I was here with the Sedins and Burrows and Kessler and Edler and Corey Schneider and all those players. We had such a great cult, Mason Raymond, great culture for so many years. Like, I had people come up to me in Starbucks and say, oh, I loved watching that era. Like, people really enjoyed it. The city was buzzing, so I'm proud of that. And then I'm proud of all the good that came out of it. Like, everybody had their thing on our team, what they supported. Like, Danny and Hank donated money to the children's hospital anonymously, but then it became public because they asked for that, because that's just who they were. Like, Burrows, supported what he supported. I supported what I supported. For me, it was mental health, and because of Rick, obviously, and just proud that I'm associated with that. Like, moving forward, I come back and people, almost as much as they talk to me about hockey, they talk to me about mental health and about Rick and about some of the programs we've created. I probably get that more than the hockey stuff now. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that, when people talk to you and think of Kevin Bieksa, a lot of it now is geared towards mental health. How did you guys remain so close? You mentioned those names, Schneider, Burrows, obviously Kess, Daniel and Henrik Sedin. You guys still are all close, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that translated so far into where we are today?
Well, when you're close as a team and you grow up together and you go through the hardships, and then you have kids at the same time, you get married, you have a lot of success, you win together, like, you just build. It's just like the relationship just keeps snowballing and gets stronger and stronger. And now, like, our kids all grew up kind of together, and we've all kind of gone our separate ways. And Kess is back in Michigan, and twins are here, obviously. I'm in California, Burr's in Montreal. But, like, our kids, when they see each other, when Cole sees Riker, it's still like they know each other. They grew up together, right? Yeah. They wrestle, like, they have fun, and I don't know, it's just like a good time. And to stay in touch, it takes effort for sure when everyone's living on opposite ends of the continent. And we've all done that pretty well. Alex now moved down to Manhattan Beach, so I golfed with him a few days ago. So we'll see each other a lot more now, which is awesome. Mason's up in the ranch doing who knows what there, selling cars. So it's fun to, like, keep in touch with people, but it takes a little bit of effort for sure.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if you were sitting here and I didn't ask you about the season that we just had. So just a couple questions. What impressed you the most about last season? Was it the Edmonton Oilers, making it that far, or what was the thing that impressed you the most?
Of the season in general?
Yeah, the season in general.
Well, let's start with the Canucks. I think the Canucks kind of surprising everybody, probably not being penciled in to make the playoffs at the start of the season. Started off the year with 2 big wins against the Oilers, who a lot of people thought were the Stanley Cup favorites. And then they're at the top of the division for the majority of the year, kind of overachieving a little bit as far as what the public's concerned. So excited to see, for me personally, maybe a little bit, selfish, but happy to see the Canucks back at the top and contending and being a team. And then the Oilers, like, I think I want to see, and most people want to see, McDavid win a cup and Draisaitl win a cup, and they came as close as they're going to probably come to losing. I think they get to that opportunity again, and they'll probably be a little bit more successful. But it's been quite some time, 1993, since the Canadian teams won the cup. So every year, for me, I'm kind of looking at the Canadian teams. We cover them, and I'm like, who's going to be the team this year? I want to see a Canadian team, certainly in my lifetime, win the Stanley Cup again. So that's kind of what I'm cheering. So I was happy that going to the playoffs, we had so many good teams that had a chance. With Winnipeg had such a good chance when the playoffs started, and obviously that didn't happen. But the Leafs had a good chance too, and you had the Canucks and the Oilers. So just hoping for the same thing coming up this year.
What are you most excited for this season? What are you looking forward to the most? A lot of change, a lot of new faces and new places, especially with the Vancouver Canucks. We don't have to talk about them, but guy like Patrick Laine, we spent a lot talking about mental health. Now gets a chance to go prove himself in Montreal. What are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, like, it's a fresh start. So the first thing is to figure out who went where over the offseason, right? Because there's so many changes now. It's so different, especially with the cap going up. Like, now there's flexibility to move guys. So I'm just looking forward to seeing again, like who emerges and who takes a step forward. And the game is in such a great place right now. I think there's a really good balance. The skill is as high as it ever is. I'm on the ice with a bunch of guys right now and doing drills that I did as a player 10 years ago. Yeah. And the pace is a lot higher now. The pucks are a lot crispier. You can't give a guy a bad pass. They shoot the puck harder, especially with the technology. So the skill and the speed is at an all-time high. And there's still enough toughness there for me. It's not totally gone away. There's still the Zadorovs. There's still like the big, strong guys. The Ryan Reeves are still hanging around. And there's the Arbor Jack guy coming up from Montreal, who I think is a stud. And it's nice to see kind of those guys. Tom Wilson still kicking around. So for me, hockey's at its best when there's the skill and the speed and the toughness. That's what separates it from other sports, and we're at a great place right now. So looking forward to another season of that.
All right, Kevin. Well, it's on to our final segment, and I knew you'd be happy doing this. That's why I didn't tell you ahead of time. I kind of went on x.com and found mean tweets.
Oh,
so
I can take it. Don't worry.
I know you can take it, but I'm going to make you read it.
Or I can't.
Yeah. So we've got one here, and I just want you to read the name and this tweet.
Mitchell Underwood. Sounds like a pigeon. Man, Kevin Bieksa sucks. He may have one of the worst speaking voices ever. I think that's an alias for Nick Cousins.
Yeah, might be. That might actually be. All right, there's another one.
There's got to be more.
There's got to be more.
It.
There's this one. This one's good too.
Hey, Irf. David Amber here. I understand you're interviewing Kevin Bieksa. I'm outside McGill University, which is a lot like Bowling Green, but with books. But anyways, I wanted to ask Kevin about his great workout regimen. He's the strongest 5'11", 170-pound guy I know, and I want to know how he gets so lean and fit. Thanks.
Is he wearing the same shirt that Murph was wearing? They're both wearing the blue Lululemon shirt.
Yeah, I don't really know, but
2 for 1
Well,
special.
first I got to ask you, 5'11", 170. That's fighting words from
So
David Amber.
everybody always chirps me about my height because I'm 6'1". I'm just
on what planet?
I am. Measure me. And I'm 195, and guys always chirp me because they know that it bugs me a little bit. So that's the part of that. So I have a lot of these like workout tests that I like to do once in a while, and I bring him in. So David Amber, I gave him a test during the playoffs. There's the Murph Challenge. I didn't make that up, but that's doing running a mile, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and 100 pull-ups, and then you run another mile. But you're supposed to do it with a 20-pound vest.
Okay.
So it's done every year in honor of Mike Murphy, the Navy SEAL who died. And so Amber's trying to do this test. And he's like, you can do this? I go, yeah, I can do this, Dave. Like a professional athlete, right? So then I gave him another one in the playoffs this year where a little bit easier one, but you're walking on a 15 incline on the treadmill for a mile as fast as you can. So he does that. So now I gave him another one. It's called the 301. It's you put your body weight on the bar. So if I'm 195, I put 195 on the bar. So 195 pounds total. You do 100 squats and you don't stop until you're done. You can rack it, but you can't stop. 100 bench presses, then 100 deadlifts, and you run a mile. So like when I tell him, he's like, it's impossible. I'm 50 years old. I can't do this. So it's funny because he always kind of says, I like these challenges. I do, and they're good. I do them for my health, my mind, first and foremost, and just like something to try to accomplish. Like I played a competitive sport for almost my whole life, right? And then now I'm not doing anything really competitive other than taking some guy's money on the golf course once in a while. So I like to do these challenges every once in a while just to kind of engage that part of my brain again, and fills a void for me.
Okay, great. Well, I'll leave you with this one because this one's actually nice.
Oh, Barry Chow. We know him, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah, he's a Vancouver guy. Kevin is like Ryan Reynolds of sports entertainment. Look at that haircut.
Yeah.
That's a comb over.
That was early, I think.
That was at the old CBC building, I believe. Yeah. I look younger there. I look a lot older now.
No, well, miles on the body. Kevin, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Goodbye.